Okay, hi and good morning, everyone. Present here and online at the Zoom. My name is Tjasa and I welcome you to the first FitBack conference, event organized by Project FitBack and funded by Erasmus Plus Sport program. Before we begin with today's session, I invite the Dean of Faculty of Sport from University of Ljubljana as the host, Professor Darmik Karpjuk as the host of this event to greet us with a welcome speech.
Thank you, Tjasa. Thank you, Gregor, for this nice conference. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear honored guests and participants of FitBack Conference. It's great pleasure as a Dean of Faculty of Sport to welcome you to the first International FitBack Conference 2022 here in Ljubljana, the capital city of the Republic of Slovenia, on sunny side of the Alps. We welcome you in the name of the University of Ljubljana, the oldest university in Slovenia. We are very proud of our sporting and active lifestyle heritage here in Slovenia. For such a small country, we continue to excel on the international stage in terms of individual and team high performance sport. The University of Ljubljana is also home to the country's only 5-year Masters of Physical Education degree, which grants all physical education teachers their certifications in the country. As part of their studies, every physical education student learns about and is trained in administrating our slow fit fitness surveillance monitoring system. The system, launched in 1986 and refined through these past 30 years, is one of the world's oldest and largest database of child fitness in the world. We are delighted to open this conference with experts from here in Slovenia, across Europe, and all around the world. We believe this interdisciplinary approach has served to strengthen the quality of the fitness feedback we can deliver to policymakers, teachers, researchers, and children alike. Dear guests, with these kind words, it's my honor to open the FitBack Conference 2022, and I wish you productive discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Karpjuk. So before we invite the first speaker to the stage, allow me to describe the setting and event rules for this conference. Firstly, I would like to invite all of you to be as active during the conference as possible. As we know, long periods of sitting are not the best for our health, so we created more open space in this conference hall. As you can see on your left, right there are some high tables, there are even 2 stationary bikes. So I welcome you all to go there, stretch your legs, go for a walk, go on a bike, cycle a bit. Everything is permitted, even encouraged, as long as you don't disrupt the speakers or our audience. So I would like to ask you to be silent as you do this, but we really hope that this active corner is gonna come to life. In addition, we propose a new rule, if I may say this, for this conference, to disrupt sitting even more. So every time we give an applause, we're gonna stand up to stretch our legs, give an applause, and then sit back down. And I hope that you all joined us as we do this. And to refresh our brain and our muscle, we're gonna perform 3 active brain breaks during this conference. And the instructions for these will be given a bit later, so we don't confuse you with too much information. Secondly, you can check your program of the conference on your smartphones. So for easiest access, you can scan the QR code that is given here on your badge, and the schedule will appear in your smartphone browser. As you can see, after a few presentations, there is always a discussion scheduled. So we ask everyone to write your questions down, and they will be addressed during the discussion. Moreover, we would like to remind online participants to keep their microphones muted, and for everyone here in the conference hall to put your phones on silent. And if everyone on Zoom would like to ask questions, simply write them down in the chat box and we will address them during the discussion period. To all the speakers, please be mindful of your time for your presentation, and we will have signs 3 minutes and 1 minute before your time goes off. And lastly, you can collect your certificates of attendance here at this conference at the end of the conference at the registration desk. And to all the participants on Zoom, should you need the registration certificate, please let us know via email. And now I introduce the first speaker of today's conference, Professor Gregor Jurak from the University of Ljubljana, Faculty of Sport. Professor Gregor Jurak is also involved in FitBack project and is leading it as one of the partners.
Okay. I think we will manage this. Yes, thanks. So my name is Gregor Jurak, and I'm from University of Ljubljana, Faculty of Sport. I'm the coordinator of FitBack project, and I'm really glad that we finally meet here also our group of FitBack in person, since this was pretty messy 2 years also for us. Most of communication was actually performed via Zoom. So I think the success of this group is even bigger. So this was actually our first meeting, kickoff meeting in Zagreb more than 2 years ago. We met in person before COVID time, but not all of us. And then later on, we had Zoom sessions regularly, each month consortium board meetings. And then also we have to switch to Zoom sessions, also our planned international meetings. So we should have a Granada meeting in May. It was on Zoom. We should have Ivascala meeting in September. It was on Zoom. Then also Lisbon meeting. It was also on Zoom. And then we finally performed one hybrid meeting in Ljubljana. So some of participants couldn't come due to their national regulation. So some of us gathered in Ljubljana in September last year. And then we have another Brixen hybrid meeting. And now finally, we are all together here. And I'm really glad. So I hope we will take another picture. So we will have at least 2 pictures gathering all together within this project. Okay, so this is Erasmus Plus sport program funded project. And we are quite a mix of project partners. So based on our initial idea, this was actually to transfer the knowledge of more experienced partners on physical fitness monitoring system across the Europe to actually pass some knowledge to less experienced, but those who actually have a wish or willingness to create such kind of systems. We established our partnership. So we are a bunch of more experienced, like for instance, in Slovenia, we have a SlowFit national monitoring system for more than 30 years. Then we have Hungarian friends having NetFit system for few years, as well as Portuguese friends, Fit Escola, as well as Finnish friends for with system Move, and also Serbian friends with recent established system. And then on the other side, we have a less experience, but keen in physical fitness testing. So friends from Granada, from Italy. Also, we have EUPEA as association. Also friends from Baltics, from Estonia. So we are mix of all partners, and you will see through our presentations then that we really well combine these different tasks among the partners. So our project is actually about bridging the gap among the countries or regions that do not have any kind of monitoring system, and those who actually have some kind of sophisticated system. And our project wanted to address those countries who actually want to establish simple way. So we will not present you a sophisticated way of physical fitness monitoring like we already have in some countries, but we wanted to produce results that could be really useful for all the Europe and across the Europe as well. So we have few steps when it comes to physical fitness monitoring or surveillance system. First is actually that we have to convince policymakers or other shareholders, stakeholders, why and how to monitor fitness. In most countries, the knowledge is there, but actually it's really important to convince the right people. Then the next step is to convince teachers, students, and parents to participate, because the best setting of physical fitness monitoring system is school setting. Then the next step, of course, is how to prepare feedback information on fitness testing. This is much harder. So we have to have a knowledge, we have to have also capacities to produce such kind of information, to also prepare some kind of feedback. And then there is a lot of things that have to be arranged on systematic level to provide conditions to implement fitness surveillance system. It's not easy. This is bottom up as well as top down approach when it comes to system. So actually these two approaches were created or were used also in feedback system. So we will show you how we actually support you from the bottom up. So this means to support teachers, students, parents, as well as how to approach from top down. We also will address policymakers. And finally, how to provide information on fitness trend and prediction on individual and country level. This is hard to achieve. This actually will not be provided by feedback tools, but it has to happen step by step by each of your country or region. So to achieve maybe the situation like we have in some parts on Europe. Here we have a green mark. You have countries which already went through these phases, some of them with more success, and feedback is somewhere in between. So we are offering you actually tool how you can start, and then later on maybe you will have sophisticated systems like already mentioned also within our consortium. For instance, you will be able to have advanced info like we have in SlowFit. For instance, you can notice here we are observing trends of fitness for many years, and we have actually a clear picture what happened during the COVID time. So there is already brand new data from this year. You can see we have a little improvement, but we are far away from the years of our independence. So actually we are quite well informed what actually happened with our children in past few years. And I think we are the only country currently in Europe with such kind of data. Of course, other partners also have it, but luckily our system is so well established that also in 2020, we gathered data and found what happened in first wave, after first wave of COVID situation. And for instance, we in Slovenia, we have so much data, we have a big data, so we can also start to work on using artificial intelligence, for instance. Within our application, My SlowFit, users, so parents, for instance, can see a prediction of growth of children and also final body height. So this could be a future also for other countries when implementing physical fitness monitoring. Also, so what you can expect from this event. So first, we will go to present this bottom-up approach. So we will address teachers, coaches, researchers to present you how you can create fitness reports. So first we will place physical fitness in educational paradigm, especially to connect this with physical literacy. Then we will show you how we will create evidence-based criteria for reports. And then we will also present how physical fitness feedback reports were designed. And then this is top-down approach. We will address here policymaker. So we will present how actually can feedback support your country, region, local community to establish physical fitness monitoring system. So we will describe you first best practice on physical fitness monitoring. Then we will show you how we defined key steps to establish monitoring. And then we will show you also how we designed European fitness map. Later on, we will present you how we piloted our solutions. And finally, we will also discuss with you about sustainability, how you, all of you, can benefit from feedback and what could be the future of benefit. Okay, now it's my turn to pass the floor to other speakers. So as Tjaša said, we will be somehow quick. We will have short speeches. I welcome you all here in Ljubljana. These are all of our partners. I hope I didn't forget to mention some of you, but nevertheless, our network is spreading. So these are initial partners. Right now, we already have newcomers, and we are inviting all of you to join because this alliance actually want to share the knowledge that actually is gathered among partners. So this is from my side. Okay, thanks. And it's my turn to invite the next speaker. This is my colleague Claude from European Physical Education Association. So Claude is the president of this association and scientific researcher at the University of Luxembourg. His research is focused on motor competencies of children and on PE curriculum development. In feedback, EUPEA was dominantly partner for dissemination and as well as translation of feedback platform. However, it was also involved in all key elements of feedback, and Claude will present important paradigm how fitness monitoring is part of physical literacy journey. So please, Claude.
Thank you, Gregor. Good morning to you all. I'm glad to be here and to take part in this final event of the FitBack project. As Gregor mentioned before, it was a hard time to meet mostly online during all that time. But now we are here together and let's celebrate in some way this moment. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about fitness as an important part of physical literacy. I'm sure that we all know what physical fitness is. It's the main topic of the project and of this conference. But I want also to refer to physical literacy, which maybe is not a term that all of you are familiar with. It's a paradigm that has gained of importance in the past years in, let's say, the discussions in physical education. My background is physical education. I'm doing my research in that area. And also I'm representing as the president of EUPEA, the European Physical Education Association, the PE teachers from all over Europe. So this is an important topic. And the discussions about this concept are ongoing. It's also gaining importance in the scientific discourse. Because there are several approaches to how define physical literacy. But at the end of the day, I think it's quite clear what it is about. So physical fitness, just to put some definition on it, here one that is already from the 70s is the ability to carry out daily, it's not moving forward, I see. I have another one here.
Yeah.
Here. Okay. Good then. Physical fitness is the ability to carry out daily tasks with vigor and alertness without undue fatigue and ample energy to enjoy leisure time pursuits and to meet unforeseen emergencies. Physical literacy, here I will refer to the definition of the International Physical Literacy Association. It is the motivation, confidence, physical competence, knowledge, and understanding to value and take responsibility for maintaining purposeful physical pursuits, activities throughout the life course. So there are many important words inside, like motivation, confidence, competence, knowledge, value, and most important, from my perspective, at the end, throughout the life course. So physical literacy is something that is ongoing, that we are developing throughout our entire life. We can identify 4 different domains that are of importance when it comes to physical literacy. We have in the core, I would say, the physical domain. Everything is about movement. So that's very important. But related to this, we have a cognitive domain, an emotional domain, and a social domain. I will go into details here. Motivation and confidence is very important in order to be physically active in a sustainable way, let's say. So it refers to an individual's enthusiasm for enjoyment of and self-assurance in adopting physical activity as an integral part of their life. When it comes to the physical competence in the core, this refers to the ability of an individual to develop movement skills and patterns, and also the capacity to experience a variety of movement intensities and durations. Such enhanced physical competence, and I will come back to this later, enables an individual to participate in a wide range of physical activities in many different settings. So this idea of participation is crucial. In order to be able to participate in physical activities, there are some prerequisites that are necessary. And among them, I would see physical fitness. Looking at the other domains, so the cognitive one, knowledge and understanding includes the ability to identify and express the essential qualities that influence movement, understand the health benefits of an active lifestyle, and appreciate appropriate safety features associated with physical activity, again, in a variety of settings and physical environments. And here, in the frame of the discussion about, let's say, the relation between physical fitness and physical literacy, in order to improve my physical fitness, in order to know how to do this, I need knowledge and understanding. And this is part of physical literacy. Finally, the engagement in lifelong physical activity, which is on the behavioral part, this refers to a person taking personal responsibility for physical literacy by freely choosing to be active on a regular basis. There is an interesting question, I think, that comes up. I can have all the knowledge and the physical capacity, the physical fitness to be physically active, but I decide not to do it. Am I then physically literate? That's just a question I want to raise, because I think we could discuss a lot about it. So this involves then prioritizing and sustaining involvement in a range of meaningful and personally challenging activities as an integral part of one's lifestyle. Now, looking at the interdependence between some of the domains and physical fitness, research is clear. It shows that fitter kids perform better also in cognitive elements. For example, they have bigger brains, and this leads, of course, to better cognitive performance. That's only one of several elements of evidence that we have. Now, looking again at the 4 domains, also the impact of, let's say, the physical fitness on the physical part. For example, cardiorespiratory fitness is associated with physical literacy in a large sample of Canadian children. That was a study. And this also shows that there is evidence for this kind of relation. So there is some association, and that makes it important to have a closer look at how fitness, and also related to these fundamental movement skills, and also the improvement of these elements, can have an impact on physical literacy and thus striving to be active for life. So without this important physical component, it will be hard or quite impossible to lead a physically active life. I want to look a little bit closer at this physical domain of physical literacy, because that's where the physical fitness part impacts most. So if we see movement as the very core of physical literacy, the physical competence is the known key domain there. And the physical competence is determined by several things, like the level of physical fitness, the fundamental motor skills that a person, an individual, masters or not, and what I would describe as basic motor competencies, which is the prerequisite to take part at the culture of human movement. So I need some basic competence, motor competence, in order to be able to take part. Like, for example, I need to be able to catch a ball or to throw a ball in specific situations in order to be able to play handball. And this is all interconnected, as you can see here. So we have physical competence maybe as an overall term, and then we have different components that have all their importance. Without physical fitness, it will be hard to master any motor skills. Without motor skills, you will not have this basic motor competence that you need to take part in the human culture of movement. So participation is essential. The idea of participation in a wide range of physical activities in multiple contexts, such as on land, in water, when it comes to swimming, etc., and also in different settings. Being physically active in school, in physical education, or in school sport is different to being physically active in leisure time, or even in competitions in a club. And in order to be able to have the choice to be active in one context or another, or one setting and another, I need this high level of physical competence with the different components. So once an individual is making the progress on their physical literacy journey, I mentioned before, this is important throughout our life, to the entire life course, confidence in movement and capacity to interact with the environment is of highest importance. Again, positive attitudes and motivation that have to be developed are important in order that this is sustainable. Otherwise, maybe we have in sport clubs, at least in my country, in Luxembourg, there's a high dropout quote. So we lose the children at some moment. That's why the attitude and motivation is important on the long term. So finally, I want to close here with some messages that should underline the importance of physical fitness and also the other components for physical literacy. Physical fitness, fundamental motor skills, and basic motor competencies, they are just that fundamental to child development. It's in the core of child development. Very often nowadays, we focus too much, especially in school, on cognitive elements, and we should not forget to be physically active. And there, the physical competence is a prerequisite to take part in the culture of movement lifelong. Participation, that is what I would emphasize here again and again. And for this, we need physical literacy with the different components. So I think we can conclude, but still, I'm sure that this might lead to discussions depending on the point of view you have. But I would conclude that physical fitness is critical to physical literacy. Without physical fitness, physical literacy cannot attain the same level. So those who attain a high level of physical literacy, they are more attuned to how their body works. This is important. This is again important in order to know how you can develop your physical fitness. They know better what it needs to function properly, and they are able to foster lifelong physical activity habits. So there it is, at the end of the day, interconnected. We need physical fitness in order to be physical literate, but we need also to be physical literate in order to develop physical fitness. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Claude. Thanks. Okay, and I have a really pleasure to introduce the next speaker. This is Francisco Ortega. Fran is full professor at University of Granada, Spain, and visiting professor at Karolinska Institute and JMK on Finland. He is one of the most cited scientists in fitness research, especially on the effects of exercise on physical and mental health outcomes and cognition. And Fran's team led analysis of huge data collection that was done in coordination with Jurak team from Tartu, Estonia. And now he will present us how we actually provide fitness standards implemented in FitBack Reports. The floor is yours, Fran.
Good morning, everybody. It is really a pleasure. I'm one of those who never made it to a FitBack meeting before. The first meeting was actually in Zagreb, and I couldn't make it for the commitments. So this is the first time I'm actually meeting the consortium in person. So I'm really happy actually to be here. And I'm gonna introduce, as Gregor say, how we managed to gather data to inform the FitBack reporting of the system. But I felt that there were two important points that I needed to address before to reach that. And basically, Claude presented why fitness is important from the physical literacy point of view, from the PE curriculum. So I think it's also just to very briefly present how fitness is also important as a health market, from a health point of view. Also, some people might wonder why in FitBack we choose certain fitness tests and not others. So I think that's something that should be covered also during this conference. I will very briefly, shortly say. And finally, once we meet these 2 points, what we have done in FitBack to improve the implementation of fitness testing. Okay, so I will introduce first, when we talk about fitness and health, there is one key person. I would say it's the father of fitness epidemiology from my point of view, is Professor Stephen Blair, University of South Carolina, USA. He published one of the pioneer or landmark studies in fitness and health. It was published in the late 80s, so it's already a long time ago. And basically, what he did was to collect a lot of fitness data. So basically tested fitness on incremental max test. Imagine that we do in all this room, but he did it in 60,000 people and follow the people for about 20 years. And basically noted that if we rank the people according to the fitness level, those with a very low fitness, those with a very high fitness level, the higher is your fitness, the lower is the risk of mortality in the future. So basically, fitness testing was informative, predictive of the future health state of the person. And that was a very strong and powerful paper published in JAMA. After that study came many others. And this, I would say that this meta-analysis published by Kodama in 2009 actually aligned all the evidence available until that time. And I'm not going to show the figures, but it was very consistent, very strong. All the single studies performed until date, until that moment, they were all in the same direction. The higher is the fitness level, the lower is the mortality risk. Basically, by every unit of increase in fitness, as measured by METs, one indicator of cardiorespiratory fitness capacity, the mortality risk reduced in 15%. So it was very, very strong evidence. And then it came this study that was more recent. This is 2016, when the American Heart Association, and it's not the Physical Fitness Association or the FitBack who is saying this, is the American Heart Association, the main organization when it comes to cardiovascular health, presented this statement, doing a systematic review of the evidence, grading the evidence, and saying very strongly and very clearly that fitness is a vital sign. So basically, when somebody is testing fitness in whatever context, what we are seeing is much more than a sport performance indicator. We are seeing a health indicator, and that was very clearly shown in adults. But what about youth? When we were in our group in the University of Granada, we had interest on this for a long time ago, actually. So this is a review we did almost 15 years ago, actually. And basically, we gathered the information existing at that time that showed that fitness was actually linked to different dimensions on health, like physical and mental health dimension, and even cognitive health a little bit. But of course, the evidence was limited at that time, but it showed this kind of broad perspective of fitness as a health marker in youth. A little bit later, we focused a systematic review also as part of the Alpha project on how the fitness tests, fitness levels of children predict the future health. So we include only longitudinal studies and show also a consistent association with different health outcomes in the future. But then actually we tried to do some original contributions to the field. So there was working with some data from Swedish conscription that they actually gather about 1 million data from 1 million participants, follow over almost 30 years. And then we got the information on when we are testing fitness, let's say in the adolescents, what we can do in the schools, how informative it is about the future health of these adolescents. So basically, there was one paper that was published in BMJ in 2012, and we show very clearly that not only cardiorespiratory fitness, the capacity to perform aerobic exercise for a long time, but also muscular strength was a health-related component and was related with a lower mortality risk for all causes, for cardiovascular disease, and even due to mental diseases, psychiatric disorders, and even suicide. Actually, more recently, this is papers from 2019. We actually got the information from something very interesting health outcome, that is disability pension. A person gets a disability pension when it has a disease that is severe, is a very serious disease, is chronic, and irreversible. It's something that's not gonna change. It's not gonna get better, so the person get a pension for whole life. So basically, to relate fitness with the disability pension is telling us a lot of things. It's telling the risk for the future that that adolescent has or have a severe disease, a chronic disease, a serious disease. And also it's telling us about economic impact of having a low fitness level. So in this paper published in Annals of Internal Medicine and also a prominent medical journal, it shows very clearly how being unfit is a risk factor. As risk factors could be obesity or hypertension. And then this is also another reason where we focus on cardiovascular health, having a disability pension due to cardiovascular diseases. And this I will show you very shortly. This is an infographic. I don't prefer to bring this to the original figures, and I will just zoom in. So here what we see is that if this is the risk of having a disability pension due to cardiovascular diseases. So we have 3 levels of outcomes. Is cerebrovascular disease that include all kind of mainly stroke, for instance, and other cerebrovascular diseases. Ischemic heart disease or coronary heart disease is the most prevalent cardiovascular disease in the world and the major cause of death. And heart failure is also one of the most prevalent cardiovascular diseases. So this is the association with body mass index. And I put it as a reference because everybody knows that obesity is a risk factor for future health. So we can see exactly that obesity is this bar. And if you have a normal weight or underweight, the risk for having a ischemic heart disease, for instance, is reduced dramatically by 70% approximately. So clearly healthy weight is important for future health, cardiovascular health. But what about cardiorespiratory fitness? That is what this conference is about. If we look at the stroke or we look at ischemic heart disease, you can see the clear trend. Dose response, the higher is the fitness level, cardiorespiratory fitness level that we can measure by a fitness test in the schools, the better is the prognostic in the future. You can see that it's a huge risk reduction, huge. So much that there's about 90% reduction in the risk of having a coronary heart disease, chronic and severe, in those people with a very good cardiorespiratory fitness level versus a very bad cardiorespiratory fitness level. So when we are testing fitness, we are testing much more than just the capacity of the people to do sport. We are testing more than talent identification. We are testing actually how healthy is the person. In other words, I see fitness as a mirror. You look at the mirror and you see how everything is working in your systems, in your cardiovascular and your cardiorespiratory system, in your endocrine system. And actually that's what also the American Heart Association in 2020 came with another position statement, focus on youth, and that say that is also an important marker of health. So basically, it's again very strong evidence, very clear message that we are fitness testing is actually informative for the cardiovascular health of the people. And this Claude presented this infographic. It's also just a very simple message that we noted. We did in Granada a study doing MRI on the brain of the children, and we actually noted that even after adjusting for maturational state or socioeconomic state to gender and other covariants or the confounders, kids with a better cardiorespiratory fitness and other fitness components, they have bigger brains, more gray matter volume, more white matter volume, and the whole brain volume. So basically, brain volume is related with cognitive capacity. But there was not only this. We did about 10 other additional papers showing that is related with the thickness of the cerebral cortex, with white matter clusters, with functional capacity in functional MRI, and many other related with academic achievement and with intelligence outcomes. So being fitter is not only related with cardiovascular health, as we show in the previous slides, but also with a better brain and cognitive health. And that's why it's important. That's why we did this project. Well, that's why we are working on fitness testing, because it's informative about the health of the people. But which fitness tests do we use? There are many. And actually the Alpha project was another EU funded project. We did in the University of Granada and Karolinska Institute, and also UKK from Finland. And basically that was the problem. There were many fitness test batteries available, but we didn't know which one was better to use in European context. So basically, we noted that there were at least, for instance, if we want to measure cardiorespiratory fitness, which tests we use. So there were at least 15 different cardiorespiratory fitness tests that we can use in the schools. Which one is better? We didn't know. So we decided to do this alpha project, and the alpha project was composed of first systematic reviews showing which tests were more related with were more reliable, repeatable. If you do 2 times, you get the same score. More valid, more related with the, for instance, VO2 max, if that is marker, more related with future health. And also we did a number of methodological studies, and we have an expert group reviewing all the process. So over 3 years, 1 million funding, basically, we noted which fitness tests were better than others. So there's about 20 papers published during this period that is the foundation of the alpha fitness test battery. So we selected this for feedback and others because already the work was done. We did decide to skip the skin fold thickness because it takes too long. So basically these are the tests that we decide to use in feedback project. Okay, and then finally we say we want to do feedback. We want to report, and as Gregor introduced, how is the fitness level of individual. And for that we need reference values. So we had this paper from Tonkinson and colleagues where we gathered data in Europe to create the reference values. So basically, if we do a jump, I want to know exactly for a specific age and a specific gender, if that is good, is bad, is very good, is very bad. And this is the only way to know it is having reference values. And that was very important in contribution, but then that was already almost 6 years ago. And we noted that there are large monitoring systems with a lot of data that were not included here. And there was also, as you noted, not reference data from 6 to 8 years of age. So then we did this study. We gathered data through the partners of this consortium, and we finally managed to gather almost 8 million data points from 34 countries to produce reference values, the most updated reference values that we have. So this is not to see, but just to know that this is a paper that is actually on the process of review and will be publicly available, hopefully not too long from now. But basically, this is the foundation what is behind the feedback platform, a huge database of reference values. And just to say that here we have Bojan and Rok and the guys from the Slovenia team, they did a great job analyzing the data with the best method available to creating a centile curves and reference values, in a smooth procedure, adjusting for the best distribution, the best method to the distribution of each of the variable to finally end up with this, with reference curves based on European data. So we had this for each of the fitness tests. You can see for boys, for girls, you can see for each specific age, it will point where the person, the fitness level of the person is compared with European peers. And we had this for the different fitness tests. We have also tables, obviously, where you can say, okay, if I'm a person with 9.5 years and I had done a score in this test of 9 points, then I'm in the 50th percentile, basically. And this is just a kind of license slides. We also have, by doing this, we managed to have the average centile level of each of the country based on the compare with the European data. So some countries are in the average of the European data with the percentile 50s and are over that and some are below that. So basically we did a ranking that you can see here. Some countries are happy, like Iceland, Norway, Slovenia, host today, Denmark, Finland, and some countries like poor Spain is out here where I represented. So basically, I want to say, make sure that this is important information, but we have to take it very carefully because all the data are not equally representative for each of the countries. And that is also an important contribution of feedback that show which country have good data and which country don't have good data. So basically it's spotting where better data is needed. So we need to take this carefully. And this is also a figure that point out not only the ranking, who are here in the top 5 of the ranking on the cardiorespiratory fitness level, and also on the top 5 of the ranking on the muscular strength level. So basically these are the top 10 countries in both fitness components. Again, information that we need to take carefully, but it's important, of course. So fitness is important, it's an important health marker. We already knew which fitness tests were the better compared with others when it comes to reliability, validity, and relationship with health. That is the test that have been used in feedback. And now feedback has done a huge, important step forward in the implementation of fitness testing in Europe. And it's not ending here because actually it's extending the fitness network. Many countries are contacting actually feedback and FitBack is supporting in establishing new fitness monitoring system. So I think it's really a great job the consortium has done. And I really want to thank all the partners that have been involved in this process. And also here, there are especially some that have been more involved in this part of gathering the data. The team from Estonia, led by Jurak, has identified the data sets available. The team from Spain, we have worked mostly on cleaning this data gather. And the team from Slovenia had done the amazing job of handle and analyze all this huge amount of data to produce the central course and create the system. So thank you, everyone, and be fit, and you will succeed in life. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, friend. I just want to highlight this work because if those countries who currently do not have monitoring systems would have to gather this data by their own, this would be a really tremendous work. So actually, we are now providing all of countries European values. You can compare your peers with peers in Europe. So this is the idea behind also in reporting system, which will be shown later. So now is the movement time. Tjasa, please.
Hi, so now we've been sitting and listening for 1 hour. Now it's time to work out the brain and the muscles. So how this active break is gonna work, we decided to do something different. So on the screen, you will see flags from the countries, actually the countries from partners, from original partners. And every country, every flag and country will be associated with different movements. So for example, for Spain, we have a jumping jack. So we do this, okay? And at the beginning, you will see pictures with a movement and a flag. But then as we will go on, because we'll remember these movements, we'll have to think what movement is connected to what country. Okay, so let's give it a try. So Slovenia, okay, we do jump squat and then land in a telemark. Yeah, maybe take some space, walk along. Yeah. On both sides. Perfect. Okay, let's go on. Okay, Finland, we have kind of like Nordic skiing. So we push. Yes. Okay, moving on. Now we have Hungary, we have swimming. Okay, now let's also do backwards to stretch in the opposite direction. Okay, moving on, Portugal. Let's move with the hips, yeah? Okay, Spain, jumping jack. Okay, again, Hungary, what did you say for Hungary? Swimming forward and backwards. Finland. Spain. Portugal. Football. Or soccer. Slovenia. Okay, Finland. What is it for Finland? Hungary. And backwards. Slovenia. Spain. Slovenia. And swimming. And back. Portugal. And Finland. Portugal. Beginning. Okay, this is for now. Thank you so much.
Of course, we are inviting also participants which are online to perform these exercises. But now it's turn to go further. So it's my pleasure to introduce next speaker. This is Maroje Sorić from University of Ljubljana, University of Zagreb. Yeah, but partly he is also our member of the SlowFit team, so it's really my close colleague. Maroje is the head of physical activity measurement and surveillance laboratory at the Faculty of Kinesiology, University of Zagreb. He is co-contributor of the National Action Plan to Prevent and Reduce Obesity in Republic of Croatia and principal investigator on various European projects. Within FitBack, his team was responsible to coordinate the determination of health risk criteria, and he will gonna present this part.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all, and you'll have to give me a moment to catch my breath after these warming exercises. I'm surprised Gregor didn't have the idea to put the bike here on the floor, and presenters would have to probably bike in the next conference, but come to see that when we do it. So anyways, I'm here to talk or to try to explain to you better how we came to develop the model to give the feedback to the participants or to the users of the feedback platform. So it was a long process. It was a process that took us around 2 years to complete. And as you see, we had two aims within this stream of work in the project. The first one is, of course, is to identify the exact criteria which would try to link physical fitness with good or poor bad health outcomes, depending on the age and the sex of the child, of course, or the adolescents. The other line of work in this work package we were leading was to develop or to design the concept of the feedback. So how to convey the message, to the children to make it more user friendly, let's say. During the process, as you saw, it was mostly remote process of discussions among the wider or the narrower groups of experts within the consortium. So we didn't have the chance to meet, but we had a lot of workshops that we tried where we tried to identify the issues we'll have to address while doing this, while producing these standards. And one of the main issues was which outcomes to use or which outcomes to focus on. And as Fran nicely showed you, I won't waste any more time to show you that fitness is indeed well connected, well associated with both physical and cognitive health. So there's a plethora, a whole array of outcomes that we can link physical fitness to when it comes to health. The other thing was, of course, are we capable? Do we have enough data, enough evidence to produce a kind of a continuous outcome or dose response relationship? So to fine-grain the feedback to the user, or should we just stick to the binary, let's say, concept? So you are either healthy or not healthy when it relates to your fitness. The most important issue is the first one on the left. So should we use norm-based or criterion-based references when we produce the standards? What's the difference? The difference is basically the norm-based standards are something like the evidence Fran showed you a bit earlier. So this is the concept when you can compare yourself to your peers, or compare one individual to their peers, to see where they're at. So are they average, above average, or below average, and link this to health. Criterion and reference standards are a bit different, so they're predefined. They're linked to a specific health outcome, and they link a certain value of a fitness domain or fitness test to good or bad health. The advantage of this approach is that it's not related to the current performance or the group you're comparing to. So with the group we're comparing to, it could be, let's say, very low fit. So if you're above average, it doesn't necessarily mean your health. You're just above average in the bad group. Because of that, we came to the conclusion after these discussions and focus groups that we should try to dig out data that would enable us to provide criterion reference values. And for this, we kind of had a feeling that the more data is there for physical outcomes, for physical health, than for cognitive outcomes. We're waiting for Fran's group to provide this in the near future, to be able to show maybe what it means to be cognitively healthy or mentally healthy when it comes to person's cardiorespiratory or other domains of fitness. The other thing is, for rushing, is the concept of feedback. So this, it was maybe an even harder task, and we had even less time and resources to do this. So we just, thought, let's go with a stoplight sign. This is quite intuitive for the kids, and they should be acquainted with the colors and with the meanings of those three-dimensional, let's say, free step feedback. What we wanted to provide is to provide standards for the whole school age range. So we were determined to be able to use the platform by every kid who goes to school, at least from the elementary school upwards. So we had to, because of the resources, stick to those age groups, and we're hoping to include children from kindergartens in the near future. In this process, so we started from the consortium, and we collated data from the experts in the consortium, and also, of course, because we have people here who have already established monitoring systems and provide feedback. We want to see how do you provide feedback on health-related fitness domains. So the second step, then, if this wasn't deemed the optimal solution, maybe, was to search in the literature for new things and for maybe something that has come up in the meantime while these systems have already been set up. So in the first step, as you see, we had 5 systems in the consortium that we can rely on, and you can maybe, there's a lot of text there, but I'll walk you through just to try to show you that most of the standards are normative based in these systems, and not a lot of them are criterion based, what we want to achieve with feedback. So we went on to perform a literature review. I must say that the resources of this project weren't enough to perform systematic reviews of the literature like it would be maybe optimal to do. But we had less time and less people and less financial resources to commit to this line of work. So we had to, perform a non-systematic search of the literature. We tried to make it more systematic within the consortium by providing, let's say, a uniform protocol for these searches. This is just an example of one flowchart done for one of the tests, standing long jump. I won't bore you with the details, with the numbers. I'll just say that this was still a large job and a lot of things to do. We went over a couple of thousands of papers just to be able to digest the literature that links those 5 tests, or even less tests, because some of them were already well covered within the consortium. And to see what's out there and what should we rely on, what would be the optimal evidence for health-related domains of fitness. What we came within this process was then a selection of core papers, I would say, or core studies that provide some of the criterion reference standards. We'll go in a bit in a moment in more detail about on this. I just wanted to show you or draw your attention to the far right column and tell you that the outcomes we came across were mainly cardiometabolic ones. So the similar what Fran showed you before, but one outcome stands out, and that's bone density or bone health. That is mostly related to muscular strength and standing long jump as a test that measures muscular strength of the lower limbs. I won't go into much detail because we don't have time, but just to walk you through this, BMI is a well-known marker, as already explained in the earlier presentations. So we just relied on one of the well-known definitions of healthy values of BMI. We wanted to relate this to a criterion reference, so we related it to the adult criterion references, which are well established for decades now, I would say, by the World Health Organization. And this child standard or adolescent standard produced by the World Obesity Federation and the International Obesity Task Force actually relates the values of adult healthy BMI values to the values you had in childhood, and that would eventually develop into healthy values of BMI when you turn adulthood, when you reach adulthood. We did a similar with weight circumference. After the literature review, it was the study we opted for was again one that tried to link adult values of criteria for defining metabolic syndrome. This is a syndrome that leads to high risk of having diabetes and cardiovascular events, major cardiovascular events later on in life. So these adult values are again linked to what your waist circumference would look like in childhood if you were to grow up in an adult who would be under great risk of developing metabolic syndrome or diabetes or cardiovascular outcomes. As you saw, probably the main of fitness that is linked to health is cardiorespiratory fitness. And here we opted for a large meta-analysis done by the Granada group that provided VO2 max values, so maximal oxygen uptake values that would be linked to either optimal fitness or let's say health risk fitness. Of course, in FitBack, as you saw, we don't have direct information on VO2. So we had to, say, do another step and employ an estimating equation to convert the stages that children run in shuttle run test to VO2 max. There are a lot of equations. So we've been producing a lot of simulations on how they work in the whole age range of childhood and adolescence covered in FitBack. Again, this is 6 to 19 years old. So the one we chose at the end was the one that performed best in all, I wouldn't say best, but that had the best performance when you look across the ages and sexes we had here in FitBack. So we wanted to avoid the situation where we would have more than one equation for estimating VO2 max. This is the one developed by Neville and Al, published a few years back, so 5 years back. For hand grip strength, as I told you, we chose a study. This is an individual study. We didn't find any meta-analysis that would allow us to identify exact cutoffs for healthy values or risk-related values. This is an individual study. It's not a large study, but it's the best available evidence we have that links hand grip strength to metabolic outcomes. And standing long jump at the end, as I told you, also one study is an individual study, not a meta-analysis, but this is the best we could come up with. What we ended up with was, as I say, a list of sources for these cut-off points that would allow us to provide feedback on whether the fitness level is healthy or not. But we also had some problems when we identified this, and the problems were mostly related to age. So these standards wouldn't or do not cover all the age ranges we include in FitBack platform. And there was also a small problem with standing long jump that wouldn't allow us to include free zones, so free as in line with the stoplight feedbacks, but just two binary zones, so healthy and unhealthy one. We tried to bridge this with the approach that included identifying the percentile at the lowest or the most or the uppermost age we were that were available. The percentile that percentile tables or percentile curves that Fran just presented a moment ago, based on 8 million data points, and then we extrapolated this to younger ages or upper ages. So a bit of our data is, we must acknowledge, extrapolated, and this is why Fran warned you that this is not an ideal tool to use, but it's probably the best available tool at the moment, and we have to work more to improve it in the future, hopefully for another project that will continue after feedback. Okay, so just to show you that the centers were, of course, different for different tests and different ages, and for the standing long jump, we had to reinvented another, let's say, a cutoff point that would allow us to have yellow light in the stoplight. So how we did this, we again identified the centile for the cutoff value we had. This is the red light value. This was the 10th centile, and then we repeated the search for muscular strength of standing long jump as a specific test in PubMed, but we omitted the criterion reference points or validation points, validation standards. So we just wanted to see if there are any normative data that would allow us to set another zone or another state. And this is again the one of the papers from Fran's group, from the Granada group. You already saw this paper in the earlier presentation, which shows us two things: that the risk starts dropping immediately when you move from the least fit to the next decile, from the 10th percentile, but then the risk drops up until, let's say, 4 categories, and then it remains the same. So this is why we chose 40th percentile, as I'll show you in a moment. This is backed by another study, again from the same group, about the disability pensions, that shows similar patterns of dose response. If you look at those 5 points, you'll see that under third point, there is no more reduction of risk. So 40th percentile would be maybe an ideal set point to divide the green zone, the green light at the stoplight, and the yellow light. This is how it looks like. I mean, the exact feedback will be presented in a moment after my presentation, and you'll see more about this. We have the stoplight, so the stoplight model of conveying the information of healthiness or unhealthiness of fitness to children, but we also have smiley faces that are more linked to normative values, so comparison to peers. You'll see it in a moment. What I wanted to say is that we don't have much data that this is the best way to go. So there's no data to tell us, and we didn't have the chance or the time or the money to perform studies with children and to see if this is the best way to convey the message and to strengthen the message of relation of fitness and health. But there are some data from other fields, I would say, of science, not just medicine, that say that graphical feedback is always preferable to just textual feedback, let's say. And stoplight sign is one of the most promising models of conveying the message about health. Just to conclude, I would just like to stress at the end that our standards are, of course, different than the other ones. There are not a lot of systematic ways how to compare your results to health standards. One of the most known ones is the ones from the US, United States, and FitnessGram, developed by the Cooper Institute, so the same place that Professor Blair works, and probably under his patronage. So on your left, you see boys, and on your right, you'll see in a minute the girls. The full lines are from our platform, from the feedback platform, and the dotted lines are from FitnessGram. And you see that we have in Europe a bit more strict standards, I would say, so a bit more higher values of cutoff points between red light and green light. That would mean that more US children would be deemed as having high risk if our standards were applied to them, and vice versa. If we apply fitness gram standards, then a lower proportion of European children would be deemed at risk and directed maybe to some interventions. It's exactly the opposite when you look at fitness. So the American standards are more strict. They have narrow yellow, let's say, zone, and much wider green and red zones than our standards in FitBack. Just to conclude, like Fran, with some acknowledgements first to my team from Zagreb, who part of them are here, part of them couldn't be here. Some of them are abroad, some of them have small children. I won't go into details. And of course, a huge thanks to the partners centrally involved in this line of work in FitBack, University of Lisbon, University of Ljubljana, and especially to the University of Granada and France team, who were very, valuable in sharing their knowledge, vast knowledge in this field with us less experienced partners. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Maroje. Now you see that we faced a lot of challenges, but we tried our best. So actually, we should be humble on this, and we pointed out that, of course, there are some gaps, but actually they are identified. So for further research, we know what we had to search, and already mentioned by Fran previously. Back in 2009, there was less knowledge on this. Now, 10 years later, we have more knowledge, and 10 years from now on, of course, there will be more knowledge, and we can update also our criteria. But nevertheless, these criteria are the best currently available to you, to different countries, to have a peers comparison with European peers, as well as comparison regards to health risk. So now it's my turn to announce my colleague Bojan Leskošek. Bojan is the head of data processing for the SlowFit research group and faculty professor specializing in statistics, data solutions, and analysis at the Faculty of Sport, University of Ljubljana. Additionally, he's a driving force to translate all users' requests to IT language in SlowFit. And as mentioned by Fran, together with Rok Blagos from our faculty, he was also the main power for comprehensive statistical analysis and FitBack IT solutions, as well as design of FitBack reports. And actually, he will present us FitBack reporting system. So, Bojan, please.
Thank you, Gregor, for introducing me. Good morning, everyone. Okay, as you probably know, there's a website on the FitBack Europe.eu domain, which represents most of the output of this project. And one important part of this is also this part which enables data entry and reports about physical fitness. So each child or parent or physical education teacher could enter the data of this fitness battery. Fran has introduced, and Maroje also before. So there's a single page which is actually a web application, which allow us to enter the data and also give us feedback about physical fitness. As you heard before, it's meant for all the children and youth from 6 to 19 years of age. And as you heard from Fran, it's based on this high priority alpha fit test battery. That means all the tests from this battery except the skin folds. Now this application is available in 4 different languages, but it's open for other languages. And it can be used on any device like mobile phone or tablet or personal computer. And it's automatically adjust to the screen dimensions. We have 2 modes of operation. One is individual, which can be used for entering the data for one child, and then there's a group entry report, which can be used, for example, for the one class in school. As we heard before, the scores entered are evaluated both in according to the norms, that's according to the European norms, and also from the health criteria. This evaluation is accompanied by text explanation and also with the advice how to improve the physical fitness. Okay, this is how this page looks. First, you enter your this basic data like name and date of birth and date of testing, from which the current exact age is computed. You see here this male is 20 years old, and according to this exact age and to gender, the variation of the scores is performed. Then you enter the scores for every test for body weight and height, from which the BMI is computed, and then waist circumference, and the other tests, shuttle run and standing long jump and hand grip. And as soon as you enter the score, like we have shuttle run test here, the student achieved 2 stages. This score is shown on this ribbon, and you see which in zone this score stands. This is in red zone. Then you have this normative evaluation on the right. You can see here. So it's like 6% of the students in Europe have worse, and 94% of students have better results than this student. Okay, and then this is the zone evaluation with this smiley, and then there's an explanation, text explanation, which is specific for this zone. So if someone is in red zone, the explanation is different from yellow or red zone. We already know the zones, which are green, yellow, and red. So, sorry. There's also at the bottom of this text explanation are the links to the advice for how to improve this component of the fitness. So different components have different PDFs which explain in detail why this component is important and how to improve it. And very similar to this on-screen report, which we've seen before, is also the PDF report. So from the same page, you can click this make PDF report, and you upload the file, which could be printed and handed to children or parents. And it's very similar. It's, all the elements, graphical elements are the same as on screen. So you can download this PDF report. You can save the data into the Excel file. I haven't mentioned before, but no data are stored on the server. So you don't need a registration or password or anything. You just enter the data and on the fly, the report is generated. So no registration is needed. But anyway, you can save the data in Excel file, or you can generate this URL, which have all the scores are embedded inside the URL, and you can say this or share it on social media or whatever. Then there's this group report. So before we see this individual report, and now this is a group report, which is meant, for example, for one class for inside the school environment. So here, as I said, no data are stored. So you must enter the data inside the Excel file. So you first download the template, then you enter the scores of all the children inside the class, and then you upload this Excel file on the server. And you get, with this button, you can get all the PDFs for every child. So up to 30 children can have their own reports, and you can print them or whatever. And also you have these links for individual reports. So if you click any this link here, you get, for example, here for Jane, you get this individual report on screen, which of course you can later also print or save to PDF. So in conclusion, as you can see, the idea was not to develop the full system, which could be used, let's say, for the national system, like we have, for example, in Slovenia or Hungary, but just to use it like prototype to show what can be done, but anyway, the system can be used, let's say, inside school. Every PE teacher can make these measurements and produce the reports. So talking about strengths and weaknesses, maybe to mention just a few. First, it's free, no registration is needed. Everyone can use it as long as you have a mobile phone or tablet. Then the next strength, or some would say weakness, is the European norms are used. So countries from different countries in Europe can be compared. Then we have also this health criteria. We have graphical output with the tips to improve. That's important components for each system. About the weaknesses, mainly to mention two of them. Perhaps the most important is that, as I said before, data are not stored. So we could not track the progress of each child. which I believe is very important to see the trend. Maybe another one is that it's not adjusted to the end user, that there's only one report which is used by small children and their parents and teacher and adolescents. So maybe for some future development, this is one of the tasks that should be accomplished. So thank you very much for attention.
Thank you, Bojan. So you can see that this is simple version of monitoring. So you can store this data and then you can follow longitudinally the progress and development of children, but there is no registration like we have in sophisticated systems. So we are not providing also graphical visualization of progress, which is actually true for SlowFit, for instance. You can then observe the trend. So you have to do it by your own. But this is, as we said, starting point for countries or communities that do not have this kind of system. So now I would like to present you the next speaker. This is Tamás Csányi from Hungary. Tamás is a specialist in didactics of physical education. He is the head of department at Ortega University and expert of the Hungarian School Sport Federation. This organization has experienced partner in fitness monitoring. They're actually running the Hungarian fitness monitoring system, NET. Was included in developing of many feedback materials, and he will present one of them. These are infographics with tips for fitness improvement. Tamás, floor is yours.
Thank you very much to Gregor, and welcome all of you here in Ljubljana. So my work would be a little bit more going to the gymnasiums. So fitness monitoring systems are not just for collecting data and playing with these huge data for fancy charts. In a school level and a student's level, this has to be a clear educational focus. Important to teach our kids to manage their bodies, set up personal fitness targets, improve and follow themselves. This process needs educational materials, what helps them understand, plan, and use purposefully the measured data of the fitness testing in schools. So for this purpose, our consortium has been developed some educational materials for physical education teachers and for the kids too. And I will show you some insights from these materials. So if you're looking at the FitBack platform, you will find the how can I improve my physical fitness part. And in this homepage, you will find 4 different educational materials. So the first material is going to the body composition. The second one is going to the muscular power. The third one is going to the muscular strength. And the fourth one is going to the cardiorespiratory fitness. All of these are health-related fitness components. So at the moment, all these materials are available in English and in Italian, as far as I can see here. Maybe some other languages will come soon. But if we are downloading, yeah, here it should download. Yeah, here we go. Maybe. So this is really, really colorful with in a fancy way, I would say. This is the body composition material. You can see there are some clear additions in the chart, like highlights some very important part of for example, here in the body composition improvement, like set goals, get support, burn more calories, cut down screen time, eat less calories, and follow a healthy diet, and get enough sleep. So these are suggestions, ideas for the children, how they can manage the body composition. So the next tip would be goes to the muscular power. I download again. And this is for adolescents. And the material looks like here is some basic information, some introduction, some definition about the specific fitness component. Here are some basic principles for developing muscle powers with some suggestions for the exercise progression, the warm-up session, the rest, the speed of the exercises, and for the correct performance. And finally, in this material, you can find 3 different levels. Previously, you could see that we are thinking about 3 levels of fitness situation. So this is the red zone, the yellow zone, and the green zone. And it means that the different zones means different fitness level children or adolescents who can use these materials. So here are some progression for the muscle power. You can see in these 3 levels by pictures. It helps to easy to understand this part. And at the end of this material, you can see the exact writing of the different exercises in details. So the third one is going to the muscular strength. If I download again, hopefully it's, yeah, maybe it's, yeah, Joel, that's too much information in one side. Okay, here we go. So here is the muscular strength material, improving that. Again, here is some introduction, the definition, and why should I do strength training, some evidence behind this fitness component. Here are some tips about how can I start the regular strength training, including the idea of the 3 different levels. Here is the progression of the exercises, and again, some pictures are coming in 3 different levels. It's a progression, and it helps for how can you develop your own strength. And in this material, you can see a QR code. This is reducing the words in the material and helping for get further information in an easy way. And there are some other workout plans for helping them. And finally, this material is basically coming from Finland. And this is for the cardiorespiratory fitness ideas. Again, there is a little bit more time for downloading because of the size of the information, maybe. Yeah, here we go. So again, this is a systematic idea that in the beginning, here is the fitness component. Here is why it helps for you, for your health improvement. What does it mean to develop, what is the cardiorespiratory fitness itself? And after some basic principles are coming through the exercise progression ideas, And again, here is the 3 levels. And for the 3 levels, here is a weekly progression. This is a 6-week progression, one after another, depends on the fitness level of the kids. And finally, in the green zone, we want to reach the WHO recommendation for physical activity and health. And at the end of this material, you can see some tips for what kind of physical activities can be helpful for cardiovascular health, which is going to your own interest and your own needs. And here is a weekly schedule idea to follow your improvement. So if you want more information, please go into the FitBack homepage and download all of these. Thank you very much.
Hi, so I'm here again, so you know what this means, a bit of movement again. We're gonna shorten it a bit because we're running a bit behind schedule. So let me just open the presentation. So as you may have noticed, some of the countries were missing in the first part. So now we have the second part. Okay, so let's begin. The first one is Serbia. It's tennis swing. One side, another side. That's right. Okay, Croatia, we have kind of like a little dance. Left to right. Okay, moving on. Estonia, this is a bit of like coordination. So you need to hit your, is it index finger to every finger behind your back? It's a bit tricky. Yeah, good job. Okay, moving on. Italy, we have volleyball defense. We try to go as high as possible. Can you even jump? Okay, then we have European Union. Like a swing, like ice skating. Okay, and then we have a pair, Russia and Ukraine, showing solidarity and peace. Okay, moving on. So Italy again. And again, a front pair. Okay, Croatia, little dance. Estonia. Serbia. European Union. Croatia is a dance. And last one, again, Estonia. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, now we have a time for discussion. So we already have one question through Zoom. And the question is from our colleagues from Basque County. They also joined this network because they are really interested to establish the monitoring system in the region of Basque. This is in Spain, but they want to also include children with special needs, and they are asking FitBack Consortium if we have some experience on this, and indeed we have. So one of our partners, these are Hungarian friends, tried to include also children with special needs. We also have in SlowFit, but we didn't actually develop special norms for them. But I'm asking now Tamás to maybe answer on this question, and then of course floor is open for all of questions within this room. Please, Tamás. We have a microphone there. Please use it because of the audience on the Zoom.
One, two. Okay, now it's going. Yeah, it's a very important question, I guess, to include all the children and adolescents, so all school children in a school system, to helping them to develop physical fitness and measure themselves in their own way, how their own possibilities are available for them. So in Hungary, we developed the NetFit as the national surveillance system in 2013-14. We implemented in a national level in 2014. And after we had a national physical education strategy till 2020, and in this strategy, one important point was to develop further the NetFit, this fitness system, to children with special educational needs. So we had almost 3 years of work, including hard research on this part. And finally, we developed the NetFit further for children with mild intellectual disability, for moderate intellectual disability, for some special psychological development disorders, autism, visual impairment, hearing impairment, and physical disability. So we published a kind of review of all the available tests for different groups of these children, and we modified our NetFit informatics system to be more flexible. For example, for a teacher who has special educational need kids, so they now can personalize the system for these kids' needs. So if you need further information, I'm available here. Thank you.
Thanks, Tamás. I would just please applauding. Yeah, I would just like to add that this is rather hard to establish, to have in different kind of categories. So therefore, for instance, of course, the health risk criteria is the same, but comparing with peers, this would be really difficult. In SlowFit, actually, we are providing them the feedback from the whole population, and their job is to perform better compared to whole population. We didn't actually develop some different kind of norms. Okay. Are there? Yeah, please, Tuija.
Yes, thank you, Tamás. I agree that this is very important work you have done in Hungary, and I would like to inform that last year in Finland we followed your road, and we have also done instructions how to adapt all the measures for children with different kind of disabilities, and we have videos and instructions in Finnish, but we are very happy to disseminate in English too. And please contact if you are interested in these kind of issues.
Great, thank you, Tuija. Great news. I guess we will have to also upload these materials on FitBack website to be disseminated also to other. Okay, are there any questions from this audience? Yes, please, Fran.
Thank you. Continue with the same topic. I wanted Gregor mention how they are doing in Slovenia to compare, to get the feedback compared to the general population norms. How is it in Hungary and in Finland? How do you get the feedback to people with the different special needs? Do you use because I believe, I'm thinking of the work we did gathering data, I believe that it will be really hard to have norms ever because of the diversity. And you need to have a norms, you need a number of people, you know, they do centiles for a specific age and gender. So when the diversity is so wide, I guess it will be very difficult. And when it comes to health risk, we have the same problem, because if the performance is different, you cannot compare with the. So I'm curious to know how Finland and Hungary are doing when it comes to the feedback to people with special needs at the moment. Okay.
Okay, thank you. We don't have any standardized reference values yet, but this is a good initiative to try to collect and the data and pool it together to create something, for instance, like for shuttle run tests and the most common used tests.
Thank you.
So we try to use the 3 levels until the children has a real severe disability. So if we have to, maybe if a children has a really hard problems, we can't keep, so we don't use the standards, but for the children who has not as diverse and as hard problems, so maybe just the mild problems they have, we make a reduction of the standards, maybe I guess in some population, maybe 10 percentiles or something like that, because of the motoric background of these kids, basically. So I can show you later on, Fran. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to decide what to do.
Okay, thank you, Attilio.
Yeah,
please.
May move to another topic.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So it is about the question about the link between physical fitness and physical literacy, because this is a key issue in the discussion, not only in our field, but generally speaking in education. So the question is very simple. Where is the starting point? Because it is clear that we need more physically educated people or youth, and we need also youth with a better level of physical fitness. Probably it is a loop, as it was presented by Claude, but we need to define where is the starting point to change the situation. And I know that this could be a critical question, also in theoretical terms, not only in practical, to adopt different positions.
Can I answer on this? Because I have.
Yes, you can.
Thanks. Because I have a hard position on this. I think that first child should have a physical competence, and within physical competence, of course, there is a circle already described by Claude, having physical fitness, intertwining this with skills and basic motor competencies. So child should first have some level of abilities, then he or she can actually be motivated to be involved in some kind of physical activities, and then later on, if she or he will gain some of more knowledge on the actually effects and gets also this cognitive domain of physical literacy, we can hope that this will be his or her lifelong physical activity. And then there is a loop again. So I think this is really the basics for physical literacy. We cannot have a physical literacy person without having some kind of level of physical fitness. Of course, it's not necessary that he or she has a high level of physical fitness, but certain amount of fitness as well as skills is needed to perform and enjoy in movement, in physical activity, in tasks that will be also prescribed to him or her during PE classes and out of the school. Okay, Tuija.
Thank you, Gregor. That's right. And on the other way around, we also had to adjust our physical activities so that also those who have low motor competence or physical competence enjoy the activities. So
totally agree.
It's on the both ways. Yes.
Yeah, but we have to target to actually raise these children with lower physical fitness to a little bit higher level that then they can enjoy. Because be in the group with the lowest fitness and with less skills, you know, this is stigmatizing them. So, of course, this is needed. I would like to skip to Zoom audience. So we have another question from colleagues from Limerick, from Ireland. So Brendan O'Keefe, he's questioning how can we ensure the field-based test of cardiorespiratory endurance, like we have shuttle run, is a true valid value, not a measure of the child's motivation. If a teacher is testing 20, 30 students, this may be challenging. What do you recommend? Okay, my personal opinion that not just cardiorespiratory, but all tests actually are also affected by motivation. So of course, this is a very important issue. So how we will actually provide really good environment, good testing environment. Within this paradigm, we actually already designed a next project which will address these important questions. How physical testing should be performed, and what is the difference between physical testing and physical monitoring or surveillance system? Because these are there are a lot of difference. Just testing or having a longitudinal approach where children actually know what is behind, why are they measured, and they are expecting that to give them a feedback how they actually improved. So this is really important question. So within feedback, I believe we will able to provide also recommendations on this within our next project, hopefully funded by Erasmus Plus program. Okay, I hope Brandon that I actually answered to your question. Now back to this room. Do we have any more topics to discuss? Yes, please. Please. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Josip Cvenić. I came from Faculty of Kinesiology in Osijek, Croatia. It's similar question as this before. I want to ask what the system has to defend from some false input in some of this when you make some testing. Do you have some defend, and do you recognize such cases?
Thanks for this question. Within feedback, there is just simple algorithm for checking this data within the boundaries, but we are not checking for false data. We cannot check, for instance, in SlowFit, we have smart algorithms which actually compare previously entered data and also between test data, but here we couldn't perform like this. So this, so what comes in comes out. So if shit is actually imported, then we have also such kind of feedback. It's all based on trust that the person who actually entered data, this data is correctly measured and entered. Yes, it's up to teacher. It's up to teacher how actually he or she will organize the testing and entering of the data. So kids, adolescents could also enter the data, of course. Okay, another question?
Yeah, thank you, Johannes Jaunik from University of Graz. I want to jump back to the physical literacy part. So are you planning to implement measures of physical literacy in feedback in the long term? Because there's very little empirical data on physical literacy, especially on longitudinal data.
So you're questioning me about this is just information.
From the consortium. Are you planning to
yeah. of course, the second project is about actually how we can or should provide feedback as educational tool for physical literacy. So this is a second project about. So we are totally targeting this field.
For the other domains, so for motivation, confidence?
No, we will not go to other domains. Okay. Just this part, which is associated with physical fitness monitoring and affecting physical competence.
Okay, thank you.
But one more thing to add. We will. The idea is also to provide the assessment tool for physical literacy. Maybe you are aware how actually Canadian colleagues did it, and we are also keen to provide on a European level. Okay. Are there any more? Yeah, Jurak.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Jurak from Estonia, as Gregor just told, also part of the FitBack team. And I was just thinking to come back to Brendan's concern. And Gregor nicely answered him that it is a big problem and it has to be pointed out, but maybe you or Tuija or Ivana or Tamás, you are doing the testing. How do you see, is it the problem? Or is this the motivation thing? What are you measuring in SlowFit? Is it the motivation or is it the problem? How the kids are doing the tests? Are they pushing themselves maximally or not? So just the practical information for Brendan.
Yeah, and I would leave first mic to Tuija, Tamás, maybe João.
About the motivation, what is the motivation to use this kind of monitoring system? I think it's very important to use information and training for the users and stakeholders. So what's the mission? What's the main aim of the system? It's not only monitoring, it's also feedback for students and teachers and families to motivate and improve their health and well-being and physical fitness. So I think that's a key issue, and it may be misunderstood if you only focus on testing and details in that. It's the wider concepts, it's a pedagogical approach you take, how you build the PE lesson where you do the monitoring, for instance. Where the focus is. Is it in the individuals and how to motivate although those with a bit lower fitness and higher fitness? I think it's training and education for the users. That's what's needed in addition to this. Thank you.
Maybe Tamás, you have something to add or not? We are somehow behind the schedule.
Yes, it's a core issue, I guess. But even in a sports science, if you're testing any performance, motivation is one part of this part, and you have to see that, okay, what is the core function and what is the additional motivation in a performance. So I think the core is in the hand of the physical education teachers. This kind of system, what we did in the feedback, and even what we can see in the monitoring system, including the feedback, the reports, and the tests, and so on, there is some inside-built motivational opportunities, but alone it's not enough. So the testing atmosphere, the testing environment, one Gregor mentioned, that would be a core. So if a PE teacher, they don't think that is important for the kids and for them, of course the kids will not perform in a good way. But from educational perspective, if they can reach the kids and they can provide a good testing environment, I guess most of the kids will be will have motivation for this. Just one example from our experience, because it's always a question, the reliability of the testing from the physical education teacher perspective and in the system level. There are just a very few scientific papers which targeted in the past that how reliable the physical education fitness testing practice. But we did a really carefully designed representative study before we implemented the NetFit in Hungary with 2,500 randomly selected kids from all over the country. And what we found that the next year, after the scientific approach of measurement, we got almost the same number of the fitness testing results from 600,000 students, what we measured 1 year before with the systematic sample 2,500 kids. So in a system level, maybe the error, it's not a huge thing, but in an individual level and in a classroom level, it could be huge. That's our experience at the moment. Thank you.
Thanks. I would just like to conclude that we will have some time also to discuss on this after the round table. And the critical point here regards to performance of children is also feedback. What kind of feedback actually you are providing to them? And one more important issue, physical fitness monitoring is not meant to be for grading children. So we will discuss maybe later on, because now we have a coffee break to go, and please, we will continue at 11:35. Okay.